general ideas about actually implementing some of those perspective things we've been talking about. Um, a lot of that is just kind of theory and practicing drawing those cubes at different angles. But when it comes to like practically implementing those ideas, it's done a little bit differently. So usually I want to think about what type of shot I want. Do I want a dramatic up angle to make something feel large, powerful, imposing? Do I want a down angle to make something feel small and weaker? Or just eye level that's more kind of more just basic and straightforward. Um, so if I know I'm going to want an up angle and I'm going to want that 3-point perspective, I'll just very, very lightly kind of throw in a very loose perspective grid. So as you can see, this is my 3-point perspective in here. And this can help me to then, so this is kind of why I do in the thumbnail stage. So these are thumbnails here. This can then help me to get that up angle in there. So I'm not really worried about being super accurate with the perspective at this step. I'm more worried about making sure the right feeling is coming across. Is that up angle that actually the angle that I want? Is this getting the look, the feel of this shot that will kind of get across that emotional impact? And then later on this next step I'll show you after this, I'll worry about it being more accurate. Okay. So again, those eye level shots are a little bit easier. But I usually throw in where that horizon line is going to be. So if this is that eye level shot, it should be a little bit easier to implement. Just knowing then I can put some other people back here, throw in some other elements as well. But worried more about at this point getting the composition right, seeing if that up, down, eye level angle is kind of what I want to go for. Here's a more extreme down angle. So I like to do these down angles when we're inside of a room. It helps explain where all the characters are in that room. Gives a good physical layout. So we got a guy here just walked in the door. There's another character here waiting for them. So this is all going to be not going to be quite accurate as I'm laying it in. But what it does do is it gives me that overall feel of the shot, and then I know once I bring this to the next step to make it a little bit more finished and polished, I can make this more accurate. So let's just do this one down here. I kind of like that down angle. I'm gonna make this frame just a little bit bigger so we give this character a little bit more space here. So let's do this one. I'm just gonna take this Control C, Command C, Command V, copy and paste, make it a little bit bigger. There you go. Sometimes it can be nice. I'll show you how to do this. Image, adjustments, channel mixer to change this to blue lines. So I go to blue, turn up the blue, turn up the constant there. Changes it to blue lines, and I'll go Command U, and you can adjust this further if you want it. I usually like it a little bit more of a cool blue, greenish blue, and then turn up the lightness just a little bit. So now what I'll do, and I may need to make my canvas a little bit bigger. Now I want to come in here and kind of make a little bit more accurate perspective grid on here. So I'll come in, I'll try and make this more accurate, use the line tool here to get really good straight lines. This is just taking a sec because I have tons of layers in this, so it's a little slow process to crop this and make it larger. All right, there we go. So I just kind of use these general colors for my perspective jobs, just because that's what I've used for a long time, and it kind of makes sense to me. So then I'll take this, and I'll kind of use these shapes that I've drawn in here to help me get, I actually want this up top, to get my accurate perspective in there. And again, the overall kind of thing with perspective, so I see I got lines going out here to a vanishing point. So I kind of follow the big lines on this thing. So kind of the edges of the room here. This will help me to establish where that vanishing point is. So now I know this vanishing point is going to be there for all of these objects. So I'll kind of hang and bring this along the edge of major objects within the composition. Now I'll do the same thing here. We kind of got the tops of these windows come over to a vanishing point. In my sketch, the tops of those windows are not even, but I do want them to be when I come in there. So then I'll get that big line for the bottom of the wall there. And if you notice anything looking kind of weird, usually having your vanishing points further away from the composition, especially in 2-point perspective or 3-point perspective. So you see how I put this vanishing point now further over here? It's working a little bit better as I'm putting these lines on there. Now I got kind of all the major shapes in here lined up. I'll put one through the middle of the windows too. So that's all on one layer now. So I kind of got now the perspective overall figured out. So I'll make a new layer, switch back to my brush tool, zoom in a little bit more, and now, oops, I need my vertical perspective. Now I got the vanishing point for the verticals. And again, making this further away from the composition will work a little bit better. I'll need some legs on this little table over here. That's pretty much it for now. Okay, back up to that top layer. Switch to my brush tool, and I'll start laying in these major lines of the perspective. Okay, we'll get the door in here. Get this window in. I just want to get all the biggest shapes first, because then after you get those big shapes in, you can kind of just eyeball stuff if I need to add in littler details anywhere. My table here. Table is just basically a cube. I'll kind of just draw it as a cube here first, and I can come in with more details. I add in my character. You may need to, take a picture of a character doing a looking down on someone, because those up and down angles are tricky to draw. I don't know what we got here. We got some sort of story. So some guy walked into this room, really mad. Let's make this here. Make this a pointed arm. Why'd you do that? Whatever, something's going on between these characters. You want to kind of make sure they're looking at each other. That will help with the eyesight line. If you really want to get accurate too with the heights of these people, you can draw a line from this guy's feet and this guy's head as well, and that will help you to figure out the size. But really just kind of eyeballing that, making sure it looks big. This guy should be a little bit closer, or a little bit bigger because he's a little bit closer. He doesn't know what he did. And eventually, once you get more details in here, you can start to turn off that lower layer and then just look at your new, cleaner sketch here. There we go. So now, again, just trying to get those major lines in there. Lines of the windows. Now I can add other stuff on this table. I don't need to worry about being too accurate because I got those biggest shapes filled out. So maybe we got some, glasses, extra stuff strewn about here. Add some more details to this table, make it look more like a table, not just a box. So this back leg would come to about there. We won't really see that much of it. And right now this room, it looks kind of bare, so we need to add some more details to make it feel like a real room. It's some sort of something here, maybe carpet, some sort of texture there on the floor. So that's kind of how I do it. So it's all about really kind of thinking and getting a loose version of that perspective in on your thumbnails. Throwing in that horizon line is going to be a huge help even on this loose stage. And then when you draw it with more detail, you can get those accurate perspective lines in there and then start to draw on top of those to make sure your perspective is more accurate.